He's crazy like Jack Bauer. His name is Forrest Power. Good morning or good evening YouTube, and welcome to this, my first gameplay on the new DLC maps. This time we're playing a bit of Domination on Zoo. The first thing that I do want to say is that this was my first game on the new map packs, and you know, generally I do like them. I think that DLC content is pretty good because it keeps the game interesting. You know, I was getting quite bored of the old maps, and for that reason it's sort of, like I say, it keeps it fresh, it keeps it interesting, and you know, it makes me want to play Call of Duty a bit more. On this particular gameplay I'm using the perks of Ghost Pro, Hacker Pro and Warlord Pro, and I think that this gameplay is like one of the most campiest that I've posted. That's not to say it's a camp fest at all, it's just slightly more campy than usual. But I think there is this tendency for people to camp when new DLC content does come out, just because they're not familiar with the surroundings and it does take them a while to get used to it. So that's my excuse for sort of hanging around A and B flag on this map, more so than I usually do. But with this commentary, I just want to look at the new maps and give you my sort of thoughts and feelings on each of them. So it seems to me like a good place to start would be Zoo, since we're playing it. My opinion on Zoo is that it is like actually the worst of these new maps, despite the fact that I'm using this gameplay here for it. And that's for two reasons really. I think Treyarch missed two massive opportunities to improve this map in big ways. First of all, the map's called Zoo, so my question is, why are there no animals on it? I think there would have been nothing funnier than if you were walking around and you saw, you know, a little chimpanzee masturbating behind one of the cages, or you know, a lion raping another lion or something like that. Not that it has to be anything sexual, I'm just trying to make it slightly funny for you here. But you know, why are there no animals on there? It just weirds me out a bit. You know, this is a zoo, there should be animals. But my main gripe with this map is this lack of monorail activity. There's a massive monorail that goes all the way around this map, and it's not been utilised properly for my money. If you think back to like Grand Theft Auto, I thought it was really cool how you could travel around, you know, on a train and it'd get you from place A to B. Why can't that be crossed over to Call of Duty? You know, on this map, if they make like the monorail a really live part of the map that you could jump on and off, it'd be fantastic and it'd make it really interesting and fun. So like I say, I think that Treyarch does do a really good job of listening to the community, but they have missed a beat with this lack of monorail activity. So yeah, that's Zoo for you in a nutshell. Moving on to Hotel. The first thing that grabs my attention about Hotel is the fact that it's basically just a sexier version of High Rise from Modern Warfare 2. All the interior bits of the hotel are fantastic on either side, and there's some really long lines of sight for snipers, which also makes it interesting. I don't tend to snipe that much, but this new map pack that's come out has sort of made me want to play with a sniper rifle again. I think that Hotel and Convoy in particular are fantastic maps for snipers. But the drawback of that is that because there's quite a few sniper spots, there's also a couple of spots for campers. Now, those of you that play Domination will know what I'm talking about when I say that there's two rooms that overlook B flag on Domination, and they become a haven for people with like light machine guns who just like to basically stay in there all throughout the game and like hammer B flag. So my first tip for playing Hotel is that if you've got grenades, throw them up into those rooms straight away, because you're always guaranteed at least one and possibly two kills. The other interesting addition to Hotel was the elevators. Now, I think that they are fantastic in that, you know, they're interesting and they're sort of novel and new, but my advice to anyone playing that map would be simply do not use the elevators. If you're going upstairs, then use the stairwells, because the elevators make so much noise, and for sound whores like me, it's very easy to know when someone's sneaking up on you through an elevator. Added to the fact that people sit in them with motion sensors and claymores, and they're quite a dangerous zone on the map, so my advice would be not to use them. And while we're talking about the sound on the map, it struck me that Hotel is a really sort of quiet map, because there's a lot of areas where there's not much contact with the enemies. And for that reason, I think it's absolutely fantastic for Ninja Pro users. If you've got a really good headset like a Turtle Beach or a Triton, seriously, use it on Hotel because it's great for sound whoring. The map is almost dead apart from the sort of middle of the map. And if you catch people sneaking around inside the interior of the hotels, it's very easy to pick them off and kill them. So moving on to Convoy now, I think this is actually my favourite of the new maps. It's a really well balanced map that gives you something for both snipers and run and gun people. You've got the middle of the map that is an absolute haven for snipers again. You can, you know, sit on the two bridges and pick people off. Or you've got the outskirts of the map, like around the trailers and the little hotels at the back of it, that are really good for running and gunning. But what fascinates me as a domination player is this bit underneath B, because historically playing domination, B flag is always the most difficult to capture, and so most of the time I'm scratching my head as to how I can capture B. But the underneath bit gives us a new dimension, a new access point to try and capture B with. So if it's not working out for you on the freeway, you can always bob underneath and get to B that way. So in that sense, it makes it really interesting. And the last map that, you know, from the new DLC is Stockpile. Now I will admit to not liking Stockpile originally. I thought it was a really sort of generic map. It was set in a sort of snow town, and I thought we'd seen all that sort of thing before. But I'll be honest with you, it's grown on me over the last few days. I think the addition of the building in the middle with the doors that control that building is really sort of novel and new. And it's just those little touches that have really forced me to think that this map pack is actually, you know, a quality product from Treyarch. I mean, I still stand by the opinion that Stockpile is quite generic in that we've seen that sort of level before, but the addition of these doors and the fact that you've got to control that building in the middle makes it really fun and interesting. I remember about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I watched a video from one of the Treyarch developers saying that the key to that map was controlling that middle building. And typically, I don't listen too much to the developers because I remember them saying that the key to Zoo was making sure that you could get up onto the monorail. That's certainly not the case, but in Stockpile's case, the key is very much to controlling that middle building and making sure that you've got those doors shut, especially if you're trying to capture B flag on domination again. So yeah, there's a couple of my collection of thoughts pertaining to the new maps. Generally, I'm a big fan of them, but they're not that too kill streak friendly, which sort of disappoints kill whores like me. There's a lot of cover on the maps, which makes it sort of noob friendly. And if you're in a chopper gunner especially, it's pretty hard to pick people off. It's not like open like jungle is where you can just hammer people with your chopper gunner. So yeah, I do think though that it is better than the First Strike map pack, because of these new additions of things like elevators and doors that open. And I also think that the new zombie map is pretty good, Call of the Dead. Now, I rarely, if at all, play zombie maps, but the fact that they're trying to change it up and add things like the new addition of George Romero as a new zombie sort of thing it's really good, because, you know, they could have just put out a sort of boring sort of zombie map that we'd all seen before, but they've actually chosen to vary it up, and I think that shows that Treyarch are not afraid to try new things, and they're actively listening to the community, which, you know, pleases me from a consumer's point of view. And I'm just going to tag this onto the end of this commentary because this is something that's been bugging me for the last few weeks. This is completely unrelated to the map pack discussion, but does it not bug you when you're on YouTube and you're watching like commentators who'll get like a really amazing score on a game and they'll try and pass it off as if it's not that good? You see commentators who are running up scores of like 8 KDs or 9 KDs and they'll shrug it off at the end and say, yeah, so it wasn't that amazing a game, but it's quite an average score for me, but there you go, okay? And I'm like, what? You'd so be proud of that score. You know, you've ran up like 50 kills and like 10 deaths. Even if it's just a 5 KD, anyone will be proud of that score. So I just want to hear your thoughts on that because it's something that really bugs me. So yeah, there's a quick insight onto my opinions on the new map pack. This was the first game that I actually played on the new map pack on Zoo, and I racked up a nice little score of 57-1. It was a good gameplay. I'm going to make that explicit now. So please don't forget to like and comment if you're interested in this video. I'm Forrest Power, and it's been emotional.